Hello and welcome to Lingui. Lingui is a channel dedicated to language. This lesson is the first lesson in Latin Illustrated. In fact, it is Unit 0, Lesson A, or what you might call before we start, actually learning grammar, vocabulary, derivatives, and culture. But what is Latin Illustrated? Well, Latin Illustrated is a series of videos devoted to learning the language of Latin. Why is it illustrated, you may ask? Well, it is not illustrated in the sense that it is colored or painted upon, but in a sense that it is simply explained for use in everyday life. Not complicated, but real and useful. But wait, you are asking, why would we learn Latin? It's a dead language. What use would we have for a dead language in the year 2017? Well, that is what this very first lesson in this series is about. Why one would learn Latin, which is the dead language and has not been spoken for nearly 2,000 years. The answer is not so complicated as you may think. Simply put, almost everything we do is based in Latin. Let's look at the tree of languages to see this better. As you can see, it all started with the Indo-European languages. Now, there are many branches off of this, but as you can see, one of the biggest branches is Latin. It was influenced by Greek, and went on to influence almost all the languages that are commonly spoken today. All Romance languages are in fact built on Latin grammar and vocabulary. So, if you want to learn any Romance language, Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, French, and some others, then you have to start with Latin. When you get that good base in Latin, you can easily learn more than one Romance languages. And the second reason, the more important reason, is because English is also based in Latin. As you will see, about 60% of English is Latin. And if we look at the language tree, we can see that French, German, and Latin all influenced English. In fact, French and German both are parallel to Latin, and thus Latin influenced English the most. Let's get the right numbers first. If 60% of English has Latin words in it, and 228,132 words are in the Oxford Dictionary, then that's about 136,879 words that come from Latin. 136,879 words that you could learn by learning this language and combining it with one that you already know. So if you want to understand English, you must understand Latin. Let's look at some examples. Ancilla is a Latin word which means slave girl, and a slave girl was something that every Roman citizen would have to help them with everyday things like cooking. You might say it was necessary. You might say it was ancillary. And of course, that is a Latin derivative from ancilla. Let's look at another one. Villa. Villa is the Latin word for house. And that goes directly into English in the form of village, which is a collection of houses. Now let's look at one that was simply two Latin words combined. And it makes a lot more sense when you think about it. Pine and insulam. Pine means almost in Latin, and insulam means island. Almost an island. Pine, insulam, peninsula. Because a peninsula is surrounded on three sides with water. It's not an island, but it is almost an island. Now let's look at one final word. Vocat. Now vocat is a verb. It means to call. And if you take off the T and add an L, it goes to vocal, which also has something to do with calling. Now we call these derivatives because they derive from Latin and come into English. Thus, if you want to understand big words, you should probably learn Latin. And even better, learn Latin with me. Not only are we going to learn vocabulary and grammar like most lessons out there, But we are also going to learn derivatives in English and Roman culture. The culture of the biggest empire, the empire that did it all without modern technology. Please join me as we adventure into antiquity. And remember, Dicere autros praxe es orvir oporta. This is the first lesson in Latin Illustrated. Unit 0, Lesson A, before we start. Thank you.